Hello, everyone. Excuse me. Welcome to the weekly market analysis for the crypto markets. This is Brandon Wendell, Charter Market Technician, and I'm going to guide you through some of the analysis I've been doing for this week of December 12th, just to see what's going on in those crypto markets. So let's kick this off, taking a look at Bitcoin on the daily chart. Been selling off quite a bit. We had that big bounce off of a daily demand on that big collapse about 2 weeks ago. And since then, things have not been looking so strong. We're still moving to the downside. You notice we're making lower lows on both price and the indicator. That's suggesting that prices are not done selling off. We may be seeing more movement to the downside. Basically, after we bounced, we had a retracement of about 61.8%, as you can see. And there's also I think this is a 4 hour supply zone that's there that we end up hitting inside of this retracement. So we are seeing some more weakness, and we may continue this downward trend to at least 44,182, maybe even possibly lower. Going into the 4 hour time frame, you can see that we've been making a peak in the past, and that peak was below 60. That's very bearish, and what typically follows is moves to the downside. So here we were. I did this chart earlier today on the 12th on Sunday, and you can see that we're making a high, but we're not above 60 in the RSI. That's not confirmed yet as a high because we could go higher. Whoops, my bad. Hit that too fast. But if we end up making a lower high and lower low on the 4 hour chart, and this does not go above 60, expect us to take out this low once again and get down to that 44,182, maybe even lower. On the 60-minute time frame, we're still seeing some strength, but it's not a very strong move up. We're just kind of consolidating and moving in a channel upwards. So that's suggesting that this is a small correction that should follow it, or should be followed by a new impulse to the downside. So unfortunately, I don't really have any targets on this other than the ones I was mentioning earlier for Bitcoin, but it's not looking so good for the cryptocurrencies here. Moving into Ethereum on the weekly chart, we did have a pullback into an area of demand and bounce from that area of demand. We're still seeing bullishness in the RSI as well. So long term, this is still holding up. But then you go into the daily chart and you see the momentum to the downside. That is very, very weak. It's not a very good downtrend either because we can't seem to get below 40 very easily. But overall, we're making some lower highs and seeing weakness in the price as well as in the indicator. So Ethereum's looking weak. This is a tested demand zone. Our next demand is about 2,900 or 3,000, just below, right in here. So we could see a collapse down to that level. Looking at the 4 hour chart, we've had moves below 40, which is very bearish, and I don't see us pushing up high. We could possibly retest the supply of 43, 44, but we don't have enough momentum to get through it. That should push us down. Initially, I'm going to be looking at maybe a continuation of this downtrend to 3,000, maybe even 28.54. So you got over 1,000 point move to the downside coming up pretty soon. According to the 4 hour chart, we're seeing lots of weakness. You can see, even on these rallies, you could not get above 60 on the RSI. That led to that initial snap to the downside. And if you were to look, maybe duplicate this move, it's about 38 to 45, we'll call it. So we're looking at about, what, $700 right there between 45 down to 38. So imagine, if you will, this is our correction. If we continue down the same amount, again, $700, we'd be going from about 41 down to 3,400 is our target for that move. To the initial thrust to the downside, if we break down from here, it's going to be about 3,400. So looking at Ethereum on the 60-minute chart, you can see we're just sideways stalling out. We lost all momentum. Never really had any bullish momentum since back here on the 8th. Ever since then, it's just been weak. That's suggesting we're going to continue to go further down. We've bounced and retraced 38%, which is kind of a weak retracement. So I see that we could reach that 36 pretty easily, 34, 35 very easily. So those are those projections I was looking at. Cardano on the weekly chart did pull back to a weekly demand zone, as you see here. The problem is that 131.61, 1022, we're below 40 on the RSI when we hit that demand. That is extremely bearish. So keep an eye out for Cardano, but on the weekly chart, it's looking kind of bearish. On the daily, same thing. We're making new lows in price, making new lows on the indicator. So while we may get a little bit of bounce coming up right now, as we hit a 100% duplication of our previous move, I don't see us getting a big bounce out of this. And honestly, I'd be looking for shorting opportunities, perhaps even at a Fibonacci level, but especially if one of these daily fib levels lines up with intraday supply and then target this 8679. Solana on the weekly chart also still on a pullback. We're stalled out about 78.6%, which is our very last retracement value. We could go lower or get a bounce here. We're still seeing bullishness on the RSI. Looking at the daily chart, this is not good. We ended up bottoming out when the RSI was below 40, so that's bearish, suggesting that if we get a little pullback, we may only go up to maybe 23.6, which is at 178.44, or this next one at 189.015. Excuse me, 015. But once we reach one of those, that's maybe all we can get before we continue to push to the downside and break this area of demand. There's just too much bearish pressure here. Going down the 4-hour time frame, yeah, we're moving up just a little bit again, but that's just a correction. You can see we had the impulse down, correction up. Might even stall out right here at that 178.44. You've got a pretty good supply zone right here. And whatever this move happens to be, let's see, we got 161.35, 197.56. So we'll call it 6 points. Oh, no, sorry, 36 points. So it's 161 to 197. Yeah, that's 36 points. So from here, 171, basically subtract the 36 points, and that's where we're headed if we go to the downside. I didn't really do any Fibonacci's, but again, roughly we'll call it 171.26 minus 36. 135.26 is where we're likely headed, just based on that measured move duplicating itself, which is pretty common. Anyway, that's what I'm seeing on the cryptos right now. Very, very bearish. So keep an eye out for those. You might need to take some profits over on the long side. Something changes, obviously, then it can be all bets off, and we could keep going to the upside. But it looks like we're still in some bearish activity and bearish mode for most of those cryptocurrencies. Stay tuned. Make sure you go ahead and click on subscribe so you can go ahead and continue to follow me. I'll be putting out videos from time to time. And if you subscribe, you'll get notified when those videos are coming out. So let me know what you thought of this in the comments below. Until next time, everyone, trade safe, trade well, and take care.